some say ignorance is bliss. If you prefer that ignorant bliss, then now's the time to turn the TV off, because you'll have no excuse left by the end of this to not take your rightful place as a warrior protecting and preparing the next generation.
We're the Starbucks. We left the entertainment business because we knew that a silent war was being fought for the minds of America's children. And we knew that nothing would matter more than exposing it and stopping it.
That's why we're here now, to expose the war on children. How long has this been going on? How did it happen? Who's responsible? How far down the rabbit hole does this all go?
We know it's overwhelming, so let's start here.
First, you need to understand that one of the most effective forms of normalizing the woke agenda is via something called the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect is a psychological phenomenon by which people tend to develop a preference for things or people that are more familiar to them than others. That means the more you show someone something, the more they start to like it or prefer it. This psychological mere exposure effect is the reason society is now flooded with imagery of what would have been considered fringe by most people only 10 years ago. I was a director in Hollywood for some of the biggest stars, so I speak from experience when I tell you that the mere exposure effect is how the media creates the reality we live in. Simply exposing the public to fringe concepts makes us normalize things that have never been considered normal before. This social engineering is how you make people see theories as facts, facts as theories, opinions as violence, silence as safety, and men as fully able to become women with the snap of their fingers. With the power of the mere exposure effect, you can make almost anyone believe anything with enough pressure and exposure. This makes it one of the most dangerous weapons that kids face today.
For instance, you might be wondering why some politicians propose seemingly ludicrous bills, like the one in Michigan threatening people with 5 years in prison for misgendering someone. It's not because they believe they can get away with it now. It's because they understand the process of normalizing prison over pronoun violations today so that it can become a reality in the future for the next generation. The mere exposure effect is why the concept of putting a screen in front of your child as a babysitter became normal. You saw people do it on TV when they were exhausted. You saw it in commercials. You saw it on social media. And then finally, it was normal. The mere exposure effect is also why Hollywood is flooding children's shows with woke agendas and sexual content, while most parents aren't looking because they have a trust bond with the shows they watched as a kid.
I'm Gonzarella. Calling me a she or a he doesn't feel right to me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I used the wrong name and pronouns.
Hey, Blue! Trans members of this family all love each other so proudly, and they all go marching in the big parade. Come join the fun!
The mere exposure effect is why Scholastic is featuring books pushing transgender ideology on kids. It's why Bugs Bunny was naked at a pride parade. It's why kids are bombarded with pharmaceutical ads on nearly every TV station. It's why the White House is flying a trans flag at the center of their flag display, and it's why nearly every corporation and sports team on the planet feels the need to create a custom pride logo that they use every June. It's why the Washington Post ran a piece encouraging kids to see kink at pride parades, and the New York Times ran a film review lamenting that the new Little Mermaid didn't have enough kink for their liking. It's why Target is selling trans pride toddler onesies and tuck-it swimsuits, and it's why they did TV shows and magazine covers to normalize sex changes for kids, but never did a show or cover updating you that those kids no longer identify as the sex they pretended to be on those shows or covers.
So why would corporations take part in this effort to destroy the fabric of reality as we know it? To find out, we sat down with Justin Danhoff. He's a Wall Street expert who's made it his mission to answer this question.
So how did wokeness take over corporate America?
It was a tripart takeover. It was bottom up, it was top down, and it was outside in. Top down, if you look at the banking industry, if you look at the past political affiliations of the board members, it's over 80% leaning to the left as opposed to the right. So there's no longer a balance at the top. What do I mean when I say bottom up? The same thing that's happening on college campus, we're now seeing on the corporate campuses, where conservatives, they keep their mouth shut. The woke employees, they feel very empowered because they now know the C-suite and the board agree with their woke positions. And then there's the outside in. When you talk about companies like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, they're probably your largest shareholder, and they're demanding you take certain actions.
What is ESG and how is it used to push woke ideology?
It is social change by changing business behavior, by changing culture. So I, for example, went to the shareholder meetings of Amazon, Facebook, and Google. At all three of those meetings, they announced that they were adopting affirmative action policies for their board in reaction to shareholder proposals. Jesse Jackson was at 2 of those 3 meetings applauding. Why are shareholder proposals important? That's one reason. But they also move the cultural needle. Fast forward 3 years. That's when Goldman Sachs announced that they were no longer going to finance any company's IPO unless they had at least 2 diverse board seats in the terms of affirmative action. That's when NASDAQ put a rule in place where they said they are going to delist you from the exchange if you don't have 2 diverse board spots, one for a woman, one for an underrepresented minority.
Why is it that our kids today are faced with pride flags everywhere they go, no matter what, at every company?
Now, to keep your perfect score on the Corporate Equality Index, you have to have 3 events each year that promote the LGBTQ+ community. So, you've got your Super Bowl ads that have gotten crazy. There's one. You get your, flag up on all of your, social media and your website during Pride Month. You better find a third really quick before the year runs out, or you're going to lose your perfect score.
What happens if a company steps out of line and they don't do those 3 things?
They are tarred and feathered and shamed.
As a consumer, as a mom, it feels like corporate America has given us all a giant middle finger. Are they banking on us going back to those same buying behaviors after these Balenciaga and Target boycotts are over?
Yeah, they frankly are.
Talking with Justin got us thinking. How well do we know where our money is going when we shop at Target or get our insurance from State Farm? We looked and found that Target has given over $2 million to GLSEN, an organization that promotes schools secretly transitioning children and undermining parents, while State Farm went the extra mile after their donation to GLSEN by partnering with an organization called Gender Cool. The program that they supported gave LGBTQ+ books to kids as young as 5 years old to introduce concepts about gender identity and transitioning to them. These companies aren't alone, though. A quick look at GLSEN's website displayed sponsorships from Hollister, Disney, PetSmart, Gucci, YouTube, New Balance, Hulu, Amazon, Calvin Klein, Nickelodeon, Walmart, and many more. GLSEN also supports pornographic books in schools and opposes the removal of them. GLSEN is only one of the nonprofits using funds donated by corporate America to fundamentally change the reality we live in. These are other groups that many corporations are giving money to without your knowledge. Even Walmart has funded drag shows and gender ideology for kids.